My name is Katie Roundtree. I am the Director of Membership and Events here at NCRC, and I'm really just teeing up our community impact team for this awesome info session on the Fellowship for Equitable Development. Um, uh, all your participant lines are muted. If you have a question, please put it in the Q&A box at the bottom of your Zoom. I'm sure we're all familiar at this point. Go ahead and introduce yourself in the chat. Um, Mention who you are, what organization you're with, where you're from, and we will be answering questions as we go and also spending some time on that at the end of the session. And if we can go to the next slide, I'm just going to remind us all of who NCRC is. Um, okay. I'll cover some of this, but yeah, just a reminder that this session, as are all of NCRC's virtual and in-person events, are subject to NCRC's Code of Conduct. So make sure that as we chat amongst ourselves that we're honoring that and being respectful of one another. We will be recording this webinar and sending that around following the webinar. Mentioned Q&A. And then a lot of the resources that we're going to talk about, a lot of information is also found on the landing page for this particular opportunity. So we'll put that in the chat as well, the Fellowship for Equitable Development site. All right, we can go to the next slide. Many of you are all already very familiar with NCRC, but just as a reminder, NCRC is a network of over 700 members, a network of organizations and individuals dedicated to making a just economy a national priority and a local reality. We do that in a variety of ways, through advocacy, through research, through training and technical assistance, through grant making, through programs exactly like this. Yeah, excited for y'all to get to learn more. And I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Dia Henderson, the program manager for the Community Impact team. So Dia, take it away.
Hi, everybody. My name is Dia Henderson. Like Katie just said, I am the program manager for the Community Impact team, and I will be the lead for, excuse me, I'm working past the cold, so I'll be the lead for the fellowship opportunity. So just to go over the agenda, I'm going to introduce our team, talk more about the fellowship, the role of being a host, the benefits of hosting, some examples of some past projects just to give you all some ideas, and then also the timeline of how everything's going to go. Let you see a little bit of the content of the host application, and then we will have a Q&A session. So like I said, my name is Dia. Our Director of Grant Administration is Laura Bentley, who is on the call. So if you have any questions for Laura, you can also put those in the chat. And Luis Ortiz, who is our Senior Grant Specialist, who worked with this program in the past. So some of you may have spoken to him in the past if you've hosted before. So I just wanted to give everybody a little more background. Some of you on this call may be current hosts or past hosts, but some of you may be new. So just to give you some background, our Fellowship for Equitable Development helps create the next generation of community development leaders and empower them to tackle the issues of tomorrow that we all are dealing with today. So these are paid grad students who are paired with you, the NCRC member, over a course of 9 months. And they're there to help drive your mission through the projects that you submit to us. So the member designed community development projects. Some of these projects should address some things like affordable housing, small business development, climate resilience, community health and wellness, racial wealth building, and so much more. So to give you some context of this framework, we are prioritizing FED projects that aim to move the needle on racial wealth building, community health and wellness, and environmental justice through the avenues of housing, small business development, and economic mobility, focusing on BIPOC and LMI communities or low to moderate income communities, in the FED target areas that I'm going to address in just a second. Excuse me. So these are the eligible geographies that NCRC is looking to target. So NCRC members located in the following areas are eligible to apply for this program. So would like to keep in mind those that are close to these areas, but we want you to know that we are prioritizing these metro areas and specific areas listed on this list. We want to include an in-person aspect to this program with the host and the fellow. So them being the student and the host being within the same vicinity definitely helps create that bond and that relationship during their fellowship. So what is the role of the host? Just to give you context, we are looking to accept around 15 fellowship projects for the 2025 cohort. So we are looking for our host to do a slew of things, but these are the top expectations that we have of everyone. One, to supervise the fellow and track their deliverables. Two, provide opportunities for in-person team connection, like I mentioned in the past slide. We really are looking to build those relationships in that one-on-one environment. So having that aspect. Three, administering the $20,000 stipend to the fellow over the course of the 9 months. One of the most important aspects, respecting the 20-hour per week part-time commitment that we are asking our fellows to have. Excuse me. And then finally, completing the progress reports and submitting them to NCRC. So the first one being due in January, and then the second one being due in June. So what are the benefits? There's so many benefits that we couldn't even list them all on the screen, but here are some top ones. One, collaborating with new talent. This talent, these grad students, like I said, they are the next generation of our community development leaders. So collaborating with them and not only helping build them professionally, but also advancing your own organizational's mission, like I mentioned in one of the first slides. Another benefit is you get to receive $5,000 in administrative in an administrative stipend to do as you please. And then finally, this honestly has little to no cost to the host organization. So I think these are pretty good benefits if you ask me. I did want to give you all just some idea of what some past projects look like. Going back to that pink framework I talked about earlier that included, moving the needle. These three specifically encompass some of those target areas. We were looking at housing, uh, environmental justice, economic mobility, small businesses. So looking at that framework, we have a organization in Cincinnati that is working with one of our fellows to roadmap to help increase Black and Brown home ownership in the Cincinnati neighborhoods that are either under housed or has low uh, home ownership rates, or these like vacant areas, like industrial areas that have potential for home ownership. So our fellow is there doing research and road mapping for them. We have an organization in Connecticut that is looking to help small businesses via the use of technology and having our fellow one collect resources for them, but also collect data for them to access more capital in the greater New Haven area. And then finally, we also have a collaboration with the city of Albuquerque, working with our fellow there to do some environmental justice work and create a comprehensive climate action plan for the city of Albuquerque. So this is just a general idea of what some of these projects can look like. It's really unique to you all, and it's completely created by you all for the fellow to help with. And I would also like to say these can be ongoing projects that you would need assistance with the fellow. So I know some of you may, on this call, may be past or present fellowship or host organization, sorry. So I just want to show that this process is going to look a little different from what you've seen in the past. So in the past, we've had the aspect of the university choosing students to apply for or they get to choose the student to be a part of the fellowship. We changed it up a little bit based on your feedback and just some evaluation that we've done over the past year. So starting off, you as the member would apply, and then we at NCRC would use a rubric to just evaluate the projects and choose the projects. So once those projects are chosen, we would ask the students to apply, still using that university aspect of, promoting, but not as a requirement. So students are applying directly. These top student candidates will be interviewed by us at NCRC. And something that we also took your feedback on was including the NCRC member a little bit more. So this round, you all get to actually meet some of the semifinalists in this process. So we would basically find fellows that are close to what you're looking for and have you meet with 1 to 2 or 3 fellows just so you could get a feel and see if they're perfect for your project. From there, NCRC will onboard you all, and then the fellowship will commence. So just to give you a little bit more detail in the timeline, from February 3rd to the 28th, the host applications will be launched via that landing site for the Field Empowerment Fund. Or sorry, we have we have another program that has FE. So the fellowship um, the fellowship will be launched February 3rd through the 28th. And then in March, the projects will be selected by us. Come April, the fellows will be able to see those projects and will apply. In May, we will select and do some interviews for the finalists. June, this is where you all come back in to do those final interviews, just to get, like I said, get that feel of the fellow. Fellows will be awarded, and then those agreements will be sent out to be signed. In August, we would do that onboarding, but also we would ask that the host and the fellow have like a pre-launch or pre-fellowship meeting where they get to do all that onboarding and just give some background knowledge of their organization. We found that this would definitely be helpful based on our feedback, just to help the fellow have the full experience of the fellowship and not have to worry about, taking a few weeks to do some onboarding or a few weeks to do the payment aspect. So getting that done before the fellowship starts in September. Again, that interim is due January, and then May the fellowship ends, but June 1st that closeout report is due. So this is something I really wanted to highlight was that application. We've received a lot of feedback on how to make it better and easier for the host and the fellow to access. So I just wanted to give some content or some context of the content very quickly. So again, that application process will be open from February 3rd through the 28th for the host, and will launch around 10 a.m. on the 3rd and close on the 28th at 5 p.m. As far as the content, these are some key things that I wanted to highlight. One being the contact and the supervisor. So who am I going to be reaching out to? One, but also who is the fellow going to be checking in with every week? Who is the fellow going to be like? Who's that point person for the fellow? So when I do those check-in points, usually right before the interim and right after the interim report, who who should I be referring to? And then we want to also know if you're in that target geography. Like I said, we are prioritizing those that are in those metro areas and those specific geographies that are listed on that list that I showed earlier. Um, in regards to how many people do you have full-time staff, and what is you all's capacity? Have you hosted before? This definitely gives us insight of how that fellowship should look. One of the biggest things is going back to that framework that I mentioned, the pink one. What is that move of the needle? What exactly is your project? So describing that in as best as you can, as much detail as you can, definitely helps, especially when it's time for us to post it for our fellows to look at it. And then also listing the main responsibilities of what you want this fellowship to look like. So what is their title? So in the past, we just have some people that have just had them as the fellow, or we've also had like coordinator position, program manager. So what is their title one, but also what are they going to be doing? And we also would like you to submit a work plan, which I will also show you in just a second. But essentially, this work plan is breaking down the activities and the deliverables that you want your fellow to be at on a monthly basis. So we are providing you a template, and I will stop sharing for 2 seconds just to get to that page. 1 second. Sorry, 1 second. Just bear with me. Okay. So when you go to apply for the fellowship or as the host, this is what you'll see. You'll see a description. We use the platform submit.com. So you'll press apply. And not to give you all of the questions, but just asking those basic questions that I just mentioned. And then if you go to fellowship project, there will be question number 25. There we go. There will be a question that asks about the work plan. Here you can download the work plan. Open that up. Stop sharing for 2 seconds. So this is what the blank work plan will be. We already programmed all of the NCRC requirements, but we are looking for you to, one, map out their deliverables, two, map out that work plan. So by September, where should they be at, or what should be accomplished? By the time of the interim report, where would you want them to be? So just mapping that out. This is definitely an estimate, but it definitely helps, one, the fellow keep track of everything. And then also when it's time to meet with me for the interim report or the closeout report, or just a random check-in, they know where they should be at on during that month. And then finally, like I said, we already programmed in the interim reports, but just the NCRC requirements, just to remind them. And then I'm also going to show you all just an example of what a worksheet or a work plan should look like. Mm, yes. So yeah, so this is an example of what we were looking for. So in September, participation in training on organization process and mission, initial research will begin. So just giving us detail of what and where the fellow should be, or like what exactly should be done by this time. So then once I have those check-ins in November or December, I can refer back to this. Again, being in detail about those deliverables will definitely be helpful too. And then from there, you would just be able to save that and then upload it to your submit. Go back to the slideshow now. Oops. So yeah. So definitely working on that work plan. And then also I think which I think is another big concept is the description of the in-person and hybrid schedule. So taking you all's feedback, we have noticed that yes, there is a 1 day in-person aspect to this, but there are some hosts and fellows that are looking to be in the office more than 1 day. So if you all could just provide a lot of detail in regards to that. So if you only want them in once a week on a Tuesday from 9 to 5, put that. But if you're looking for somebody that could be in the office 3 days a week from Wednesday to Friday from 10 to 3, put that also. So when we are selecting fellows, we're also looking at their schedules and seeing what they have the capacity for. If they have a full-time job, looking at that schedule compared to the schedule that you're asking for. So please be as detailed as possible with that. And then finally, we are looking at the training and supervision plan. We're asking you to just describe who you are as a supervisor, what you're looking for as a supervisor, and then also what that training or that onboarding is going to look like for the fellow once you all begin. And then if you have any additional funding sources, please let us know. The reason I was going through all of this was just so that you all have a good understanding of what we're looking for. We want as much detail as possible to really ensure that close to perfect matching with the fellow. Again, I just wanted to highlight some key dates. The month of February, February 3rd through the 28th will be the application process. So this will again open 10 a.m. on the 3rd and close at 5 a.m. or 5 p.m. Eastern on the 28th. And then that application link will be found on that homepage for the fellowship where you all register for this webinar. So I just wanted to add this slide also. If you had any specific questions or any questions after going through this slideshow, to email us directly at impact@ncrc. Again, that application will be found on our homepage for the fellowship. So go to ncrc.org/fellowship for equitable development. And if you have any questions based on that landing page for us, again, just email the impact@ncrc. And then I also wanted to include the information for the membership team. Some of you may already be members of NCRC, but some of you may not be. This specific fellowship is for NCRC members only. So if you are looking to join, I added the link to join or to renew your membership. If you aren't sure if you're a part of NCRC or if you have specific questions, I did add the membership's specific email, and they would be happy to answer any questions you may have in regards to renewal or joining the organization. So from there, I would love to take some questions.
Sure. And while folks are putting their questions in the box, Dia, there were a handful of questions that we answered during the meeting that I feel like would be worth reiterating. One of those was a question about the focus geographies and what if you're applying from an area that's not on that list. So Laura's answered that, but Dia, I think that's worth highlighting for folks to make sure they got that.
Yeah, I was just trying to find the question, but in regards to the focus areas, like I said, we are prioritizing those that are that are in those specific areas. I believe it's over 20 areas. I'm willing to still accept, of course, accept those applications from those that aren't necessarily in those geographies, but kind of close. But again, I do want to just reiterate that we are prioritizing those that are in those areas.
Yep, great. And similar, just sticking on the locality theme of questions, seeing some questions about if your organization is entirely remote, are there opportunities? Are you eligible to apply, or does there need to be an in-person component?
We are really trying to stress the in-person component. It really helps develop the fellow and get them as involved. I think sometimes with fully remote work, there can be a disconnect with the fellow and the host. So just making sure that everybody is on the same page. We are encouraging that you have that one-on-one time to meet with them at least once a week. But again, I can also answer that or talk more in depth with that organization or organizations in general offline too.
Yep. And then there's a couple questions about the fellows' academic status, whether they have to be current master's students. A couple different ways that that's showing up in the questions.
Yeah, so we are asking for them to be in a grad or PhD program. We do have a few PhD candidates that are in our program now. We are asking that they are active students, sorry. We have had some cases where some students have graduated early. So if they are citizens and they've graduated early, they can still continue their their fellowship through, what is it, May? Through May. International students are just a little more tricky because with their visas. So we are asking that if they are international and they are graduating usually around the December mark, that they do as much as they can, or do that you design a project that can be flexible. There we go, flexible for those that are graduating early, that are international students, because they're not allowed to work on this fellowship if they're not um, in school at the time.
Yep. And then great question about how these projects fit into existing work that the organization is doing. Like, does this have to be a brand new scope of work for the organization, or can it fit into work that the organization is doing? How do you balance that?
Yeah, so some of these projects, like I said, some of these projects are brand new. They're new initiatives that the organizations are doing, but a lot of them are also just continuation of work that the host organization is already completing. So it doesn't necessarily have to be a brand new project. If it is a continuation, that is perfectly fine. As long as there's a place and a work plan for the fellow and how they fit into that.
Sure. Um, oh, and another question on kind of the scope of the project. There was a specific question on can the fellows work on policy related projects?
Yeah, for sure. So just going back to that framework that I talked about, that what's moving the needle, what in what avenue, as long as they are within in that housing, small business or economic mobility frame, or in general, just working within that framework. I think a policy project definitely will work. I think we have one policy project right now, and they're doing a lot of research, policy-based research. So that definitely does fall in the realm.
Yeah. And then um, uh, question about what are the financial responsibilities for the NCRC host organization versus what costs are covered within the fellowship by NCRC?
Yeah, so we disperse the money to the host organizations. So it is your responsibility to disperse that money to the fellow. We But I believe we give all the money up to you up front. So however you want to do it is solely up to you. It'd be helpful to describe that in your plan also, of how you can put that in the training plan or supervision plan, but it'd be helpful to just know how you plan on dispersing that money to the fellows. So we have some fellows that just get a lump sum every month, and then we have other fellows that are part of the payroll, and that's how they're distributed. So they'll do like a timesheet, or just keep some type of record and then get paid out like that.
Yep.
So it is you all's responsibility to pay the fellow.
The stipend with the money that NCRC has given to the host. And I'll drill down on that a little bit. Administrative costs, like, does that include if the fellow needs to use a laptop, space, any of the other costs associated with having another human around? I'm assuming that that's the host organization, correct? Yeah. Okay. Um, love this question. Membership status question. Do you need to be an active NCRC member when applying or by the time that the project is selected?
Yes. Like I said, to host a fellow, you must be an NCRC member. So, like I said, I mentioned those links that we provided, and it honestly is a quick process. And like I said, if you have any specific questions, please reach out to that membership email.
Yeah. And just to be really specific about it, um, if you're not already an NCRC member, you're welcome to apply. But if selected to participate, you must be a member in good standing before the fellowship program begins, is my understanding of the timeline requirement. Correct? Yep. And I will say, as the membership director, our team would love to talk to you about the other ways that membership can be of value to you and your organization beyond this one particular opportunity. Yep. I wanted to go back up to a question about um, whether hosting organizations are encouraged to engage potential fellows for job opportunities beyond the fellowship. Great question, Dia. I'd love to hear your answer to that, and I have well, a small plug that I'll add after it.
Sorry, could you repeat that? You kind of broke up at
Yep.
the first
Yep.
part.
Sorry. Um, do we encourage host organizations to look to engage potential fellows for job opportunities beyond the fellowship?
Yeah, we definitely support that. We have instances now where some of the hosts are looking to hire the fellows on full time. So we definitely encourage full time employment if applicable. Also just exposing the fellows to any job opportunities that they may be interested in. If it's not specifically your organization, but you do have a connection, that definitely is definitely encouraged.
And I'll just add to that, there's a couple different reasons why this fellowship program is really important to NCRC. One is that it's a really great way for us to build the capacity of our members. And the other, as NCRC's board has been reflecting over the last few years about the future of the movement for economic justice, one of the real needs that we've identified is to be able to develop the next generation of leaders. And this fellowship is actually part of the way that we're answering that. And I'd encourage our NCRC members to think about that in the ways that they're engaging these fellows, that this is partly a way to serve y'all and your organization's needs, and also a way for y'all to help participate in cultivating that next generation. And so, Steve, I think you were the one who asked that question. Would love for folks to be thoughtful about how your organization can participate in these fellows' professional journey, whatever that may look like. All right, let's see. Um, I'm not seeing any new questions, but I did want to, going back to the questions around the geographic area, I wanted to remind folks that the website for this opportunity does list out that full list of geographies. So it's a great place to go and check and see if your organization is in those areas. Yeah. Great question. For the fellows who are invited to participate in NCRC's Just Economy Conference, is just registration covered, or are travel, hotel, and meals covered for that fellow?
So yeah, it definitely depends on how if you're in the DMV area. So those that are definitely outside of that DMV area, we uh offer a lodging and a stipend, like travel stipend. But all of the fellows receive a free registration stipend or pass. So we are paying for their conference experience. But those that are outside of the DMV area, making those little longer travels are definitely given a travel stipend and given free lodging.
That might be the questions that we have during this time frame, but I'll reiterate, DIA is available for follow-up conversations and questions uh, even before that February 3rd launch day. But yeah, I'm assuming, Dia, that folks should be on the lookout for that announcement in their inboxes on February 3rd.
For sure. And like Katie just said, if you have any questions, please reach out to us directly at impact@ncrc.org and we will answer to our best ability, but we definitely will get back to you.
Yeah,
Yeah, if there's no other questions, I don't know if you all have any announcements that you wanted to go over, but thank you all so much for joining. Again, my name is Dia, and please feel free to reach out if you have any questions.
thanks, y'all.